I think in terms of any environment, the lessons that we get over and over again is that you can't be sure what the next environment and twists and turns are. What you don't know is greater than anything you do know. So if you were in the airline business or you were in the hospitality business and that was wonderful and you liked it and everything else, all of a sudden that changed in important ways. So the important thing are the more general abilities. In terms of investing, what that means is you need to know how to diversify well. That's the most important thing. In terms of any aspect in life, to know how to deal with what you don't know is more important than anything you know, because the world is so much more surprising than you can really be sure of. So in a general sense for skills, I think, and skills are part of what are your environment. Find out those things that are self-sufficient and maintain flexibility. You have to know how to maintain flexibility and change well. If your career is in one area, you have to know you have to develop the skill for changing a career. And that all comes down to knowing how to find the path, to know how to triangulate well with others. For me, it's a lot of the alignment of the three things that I said before. What is my passion? Then, knowing my nature, what is my passion? And can I align my work to my passion? And then, does it pay adequately for me to take care of my needs? And for me, I do that because it's my passion. And so when you find your passion that's aligned with your work, if you can do that, my nature is I'm extremely curious. Okay, and I love my game. My game is to learn about the world, interact with the world, and bet on it. And I'm very curious. So it might be whatever your game is, like you've got a game, because that's your passion, that's your game. And if you can line those three things up and you know your nature, because if you know your nature, you can find your role. You want to find the right role for you, right? It's not just go get a job and, I might say I would like to be an architect. Well, you have to know your nature. And then you can find your role. And so I'm hesitant to say that what is true for me is true for somebody else. So when you ask me what, okay, those are my big things. Meaningful work and meaningful relationships. Like relationships matter a huge amount to me. So if I can have a work that feeds my curiosity, that I'm passionate about, and that pays me adequately, and I do that with great people, those are the things that feed me. And so you have to know those things that feed you. Like I like the big picture. Somebody might like details. You have to pick those things that are for your nature and align those things I'm talking about. Questions, that's right. It's the hunger to know. You'll notice it different in people. There will be people who, wow, you listen, good question. Then there will be people who can't ask questions, that they're just telling you what they think. You think they're acting smart, they think they're acting smart, and they're the stupid ones. The smart ones are, question. Now, how do I go? I have to find the answer to the question. Next question. Because the questions and the power and the pull to answer those questions and so on is the thing that drags you forward, and it's excitement. Do you have a pull? Okay, what's your pull? It's all in questions, I think. It's all in a journey. Life is in a journey, an adventure. But you have to know your pull, and then along the way you're going to have your adventure, and you're going to learn, and then you go through your phases of life. And each phase is different. In the back of that book, Principles for Success, there's a life arc chart. And if you know where you are on that life arc, and you know what the next 10 years is typically like, and you know what the people you care about are on their life arcs, you can almost know what's coming at you, and then you could start to think about it. So it's at that level of knowing yourself and knowing how these things happen over and over again that you can achieve your path. Don't be surprised. Most life is the same things that happen over and over again. You're born, you probably have parents to take care of you. Maybe you have one, maybe you have two, but somebody does. They teach you. You have your first phase of your life where you're dependent on them and you're learning. Then you come out to your second phase of your life, and then you're working and others are dependent on you, and then you have that. So these things happen over and over again, and you just have to know that path and know how to approach it. All currencies eventually die, and all empires eventually diminish, and there are other empires, and the question is essentially the pace of how that happens. I think that it's most likely going to happen in a way that's tolerable if you can manage it well. Think about the decline of the British Empire, and you see people who are living in London and so on. It's not that the world blows up, it's that they have to readapt, and they know how to readapt. And so I think that we're going to come through more difficult times. I think the next 3 to 5 years will be difficult times in ways that haven't existed in their lifetime, but has existed in other periods of time, like the 1930 to 45 period. So to be able to adapt well, to invent yourself, again, to adapt, and to navigate that, maybe with a perspective of knowing what those other times were like, is the best thing to do. So the reason I'm doing that series on LinkedIn is to help people understand what those times are like, and then help them prepared. The reason I wrote the book Principles is so that it's a particular approach, because the same things happen over and over again for basically the same reasons. And once you get that, and you have the self-discipline to know how to play the game well, then you'll be fine. The things that I thought about, some of the things I mentioned earlier, the plan for the worst case scenario and make it terrific is one of the things. The understanding how to triangulate well to deal with whatever problems that you're going to face, and how to work that through to find the path and find your nature. But also, one thing that's helped me a lot is meditation. Meditation gives you a calmness, an equanimity, so that you can almost look at your circumstances and you can navigate it with a clarity of thought without all of that stress. It's healthy because it reduces stress, and it also makes you smarter to make the decisions well. So I would say that would also be something that I would recommend. Because if you have the equanimity, that centeredness, that calm centeredness, and you have your plan, and you triangulate well with others so that you can get all the best advice and don't have to approach it in your own head, you're a long way there.
In your mind, we think, what do you want? And the reality is, when you look at the neuroscience and psychology, that there are different parts of your brain that want different things. And so in the simplest sense, there is the logical part of your brain that you're conscious of, it's called the conscious, and you think you're being logical and you want to make those decisions. And then there's the subliminal, below the limbic system, part of the brain, which is the emotional, and it's not as conscious to you, but it has more of an influence on you than really the logical one. And so they're not aligned. And so when you're experiencing that pain, or let's say the ego, right, there were two main things. You got an ego barrier and a blind spot barrier. If you can get past your ego barrier and you get past your blind spot barrier, you can accomplish anything, because you'll also know that you don't have to do everything, you don't have to figure it out yourself. You can take in from other people the different ways to approach things in the best possible way. And so the realization that we all are really struggling with ourselves, and to think which is in control. Meditation helps to deal with the alignment of those two things, because both are valuable. In other words, intuition, imagination, the things we really love, come from our subliminal us's, right? Our needs, whatever they may be. They come from here, that subliminal. They may be valuable. They may be damaging. You don't know the difference. And so when they come up and you're looking at those with your logical mind and you can align those things, you're probably in good shape. If you can do that alignment between the subliminal and the logical, and you can do that with other people so that you can triangulate with other people and say, does that make sense? And get alignment. That alignment is the path to the future, because you only have to know what the best things to do are. You don't have to have them all come up from your head. And for God's sakes, don't be overly opinionated, because just because you have that opinion, it doesn't mean it's true. So that's where the two U's and the alignment really is so important.